Good morning. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Tiffany Sapp, the minister of this church. My pronouns are she and her, and my favorite dinosaur is the Triceratops. I'm so glad to be with you here today. Thank you for joining us. The Unitarian Universalist path is a unique one in that we recognize that the sources of inspiration, ethics, and meaning that are available to us are so much broader than what many may think. And today is a perfect example of that as we use Jurassic Park to explore topics connected to science, capitalism, and chaos. If you are visiting us for the first time today, you are especially welcome. Our greeters by the welcome table by the door can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children ages 6 and younger. Please be aware that our services are filmed and posted on YouTube. There's a chance that you might be seen in our YouTube videos. If you want to make sure that you are not on camera, please sit in the perfume-free zone over there or in the section closest to the back table by the library. Our opening hymn is number 100 in the thicker gray hymnal, I've Got Peace Like a River. We are going to sing the first 4 verses. Please rise with us in body or spirit for hymn number 100. We are living in a universe, possibly part of a multiverse. Possibly. We are living in the Milky Way, a part of the local group of galaxies, a part of a supercluster of galaxies. We are living in a solar system in a spiral arm of the Milky Way. We are living on a planet powered by the sun. We are living on a planet called Earth with rocks and trees and birds and leaves and oceans and mountains and lakes and everything beautiful and everything good to care for as they care for us. We are living today with time to do good for ourselves and for each other. Please sit with us in stillness.
Good morning. I'm Ellender, and I am your service leader today. My favorite dinosaur is all of them, but I have a special place in my heart for the little bitty ones that otherwise don't get much love. My pronouns are any of the above. I have in the past answered to all of them. Our chalice reminds us that the fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected, even though the space of the void is vast. And our experience here is but a blip in the cosmic timeline. This flame is our promise that in our smallness and our short time on this earth, that we live intently and deeply with love for one another, with honesty and integrity, to be guided by rational thought and critical thinking, and with a sense of shared responsibility. For as the late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us, this pale blue dot is the only home we've ever known. Will you join me by saying the words of our vision statement with me, which are printed in your bulletin as we light the chalice together? We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. We'd like to invite our children, youth, parents, and young at heart to join us down front for a time for all ages.
Good morning. Good morning. So we do church about dinosaurs and all the kids show up. Is that how this works? Yeah. All right. Well, then I'm going to start with a very important question. What's your favorite dinosaur? Does anyone want to raise their hands? Yes, what's your favorite? Velociraptor. What's your favorite? T-Rex. All right, what's your favorite? T-Rex. Does anyone else? What's your favorite? Chickens. We are a pluralistic community here, and I will honor your choice. Yes. Pterodactyl. Good. Stegosaurus. All right. Does anyone else want to share their favorite dinosaur? You do not have to. Yes. Brontosaurus. All right. All right. All right. All right. So these are great answers, and they have nothing to do with today's time for all ages. I just could not resist the chance to find out what your favorite dinosaurs are. Today we're going to talk about something that you all did during your religious education class last week. Were any of you there at your religious education class last week and remember what you did? What you remember? What'd you do?
We talked about people that don't have what we have and tried to find a way to help them.
We talked about people who don't have what we have and tried to find a way to help them. How did you guys find a way to help them?
We did hunger for people that don't have enough food.
Okay. So what you all did was you voted on a cause to support, right? And the cause that you chose was hunger. You even made a sign that I think you're still working on, but it says hunger. And that means that what you guys are going to do is start collecting money for hunger. Is that right? Yeah, so this is the basket that you've chosen and decorated. And so every week when we have time for all ages, you all are going to come up here and you're going to put your coins and your cash right here in this basket. And when we've collected enough, we will find an organization or a couple of organizations who help people who are hungry in the area. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So starting next week, you guys can, if you had some today, you could throw it in too, but you weren't prepared. But starting next week, you all can bring your coins and your cash, and you can poke mom and dad to give you a little bit of money to bring up here and put in the basket. Does that sound good? Yeah.
I already have enough money.
You already had, so are you ready to throw some money in here? Yeah?
I think I need to.
Yeah? Do you have it with you?
No.
No, all right. Well, that's okay, because the basket will be up here today, and it will be up here every week. And this is just a great chance for you all to make a difference, because even if you're one of the itty-bitty dinosaurs that no one ever remembers their names, you can still make a difference. Isn't that cool? So thank you so much for choosing an important cause, and I think you all are really going to make a difference for some people who are hungry this year. And thank you for contributing, and you all can go back to your seats. Thank you. This week and every week, we return to the knowledge that whatever else is happening in the world around us, there are those among us celebrating the greatest of joys and the deepest of sorrows. Our commitment to community and showing up for each other means that we set aside this time to hold those joys and sorrows together, no matter what else is going on. So if you want to shine a light on your journey, you can share a joy or a sorrow in person by using these candle cards that are located on that back table. And if you'd like to share a joy or a concern from a distance, you can email me at minister@hvuuc.org. I believe that the kids are inviting us to remember people who are hungry this week. So let's start by acknowledging that as a very real concern that is not going to go away anytime soon. And so I'll get down there and I'll light a candle for people's most basic needs and the systemic problems that often get in the way of those needs. A candle of joy and appreciation from Rachel for all the volunteers who worked at Blue Plum this weekend. And of course, I have a candle of appreciation for Rachel for organizing all of this. A candle of joy from someone who is very excited for our theme today. I am grateful that life finds a way. So we come, bringing all that we are and everything that we carry to this table of joy and sorrow, grief and hope, community and care. If you wish to light your own candle, please approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over an open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand and I will acknowledge you and I will light a candle for you. And our community is so much larger than just those who are in the building this morning, and so we light a candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts.
Thank you.
light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds. Our reading today is a scene out of Jurassic Park. No one's getting eaten in this scene. Ellender will be reading for John Hammond, the showman and money man who created Jurassic Park. Stephen will be reading for Dr. Ian Malcom, the mathematician that specializes in chaos theory. And I will be reading for 3 different side characters: the lawyer who represents the investors, and the 2 paleontologists who have been brought in to consult about the park. I'm hoping that context clues will offer you enough idea of who I'm reading for. But it might help to know that I'm starting out reading almost exclusively for the lawyer, as the paleontologists are feeling pretty pensive about the whole thing. In this scene, they have just completed a tour of the genetics facilities and have seen a baby dinosaur hatch. They are considering the implications of a theme park filled with dinosaurs created by extracting dinosaur DNA out of a mosquito that was fossilized in amber. We can charge anything we want. $2,000 a day, $10,000 a day, people will pay it. And then there's the merchandising.
Donald, this park was not built to cater only to the super rich. Everyone in the world's got a right to enjoy these animals.
Oh, sure, they will. We'll have a coupon day or something. I've never been a rich man. Is it nice? I hear it's nice.
The lack of humility before nature that's been displayed here staggers me.
Thank you, Dr. Malcolm, but I think things are a little different than you and I feared.
Yeah, I know. They're a lot worse.
Now, wait a second. We haven't even seen the park yet. Let's hold our concerns.
All right, Donald, all right, but just let him talk. I want to hear all viewpoints. I truly do.
Don't you see the danger, John, inherent in what you're doing here? Genetic power is the most awesome force ever seen on this planet. But you wield it like a kid who's found his dad's gun. The problem with the scientific power you've used is it didn't require any discipline to attain it. You read what others had done and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you knew what you had, you patented it, packaged it, slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you want to sell it.
You don't give us our due credit. Our scientists have done things no one could ever do before.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. Science can create pesticides, but it can't tell us not to use them. Science can make a nuclear reactor, but it can't tell us not to build it.
But this is nature. Why not give an extinct species a second chance? I mean, condors. Condors are on the verge of extinction. If I'd created a flock of them on the island, you wouldn't be saying any of this.
Hold on. This is no species that was obliterated by deforestation or the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot. Nature selected them for extinction.
I don't understand this Luddite attitude, especially from a scientist. How could we stand in the light of discovery and not act?
What's so great about discovery? It's a violent, penetrative act that scars what it explores. What you call discovery, I call the ruin of the natural world.
Please, let's hear from some others. Dr. Grant, Dr. Sattler. The question is, how much can you know about an extinct ecosystem, and therefore, how could you assume you can control it? You have plants right here in this building, for example, that are poisonous. You picked them because they look pretty. But these are aggressive living things that have no idea what century they're living in and will defend themselves violently if necessary.
Dr. Grant, if there's one person who can appreciate all of this.
I feel elated and frightened, and the world has just changed so radically. We're all running to catch up. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but look, dinosaur and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just suddenly been thrown back into the mix together. How can we have the faintest idea of what to expect?
I don't believe it. I expected you to come down here and defend me from these characters, and the only one I've got on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer?
Thank you? So there's a meme that's been floating around the internet for years now that says something along the lines of, one of the worst things about growing up is that no one asks you what your favorite dinosaur is anymore. So we are here to correct that injustice today. Let's hear, some of you have already chosen to participate in this, but for the rest of you, what's your favorite dinosaur? Just call it out. I think I heard all of them. Good job, y'all. There's just something about dinosaurs that invite us to a sense of wonder. These giant, fantastical creatures that left the earth long before we arrived captures our imagination in childhood, and for some of us, it never lets us go. And wonder is one of our main motivations for gathering together as a community here, according to our vision statement. It's right up there along with love, justice, and transformation. We know that wonder is healthy for the human psyche. And I've shared during other sermons that the folks at UC Berkeley and at the National Institute of Health have studies that show the profound physical and social benefits to experiencing awe and wonder. It's something we humans need. Rewatching the 1993 Jurassic Park, the original, this week, resurrected a sense of wonder for me. The special effects of this movie are still awe-inspiring 30 years later, largely because it was animatronics and people in velociraptor suits rather than CGI. I hear that the animatronic T-Rex was half of the movie's budget and worth every penny. Steven Spielberg shared. He spared no expense. And we see that sense of wonder within the show as well. The first time you see the paleontologists see real live dinosaurs for the first time, you see awe in their faces before you ever see the dinosaurs that they're observing. Or when Dr. Grant lays his head on the sedated Triceratops's belly, a look of childlike wonder in his eye as the giant dinosaur breathes in and out. Or when they hold a newly hatched dinosaur in the lab. Or when they feed a passing Brachiosaurus a branch full of leaves. They're all moments where the actors clearly convey a sense of, I cannot believe this is happening. Of course, in this movie, the potential for wonder and the potential for terror go hand in hand as safety mechanisms fail and people start to die. To quote Dr. Ian Malcom, portrayed by the iconic Jeff Goldblum, if the Pirates of the Caribbean break down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. While there's several shady characters in this film, there's not a classic mustache-twirling villain. Nedry, the computer scientist who shuts down the security system to steal some dinosaur embryos out of his own greed, absolutely does get the chaos of this story started, but he also gets eaten very early in the movie. So he's not a classic villain in the classic sense. But there is plenty of conflict, and many of them draw on the classic types of conflict that you encounter when you're studying literature. In Jurassic Park, I see character versus character. I see character versus nature, clearly. I see character versus technology, character versus fate, and character versus self. They all play into this story. There is some interpersonal conflict, character versus character, especially involving that betraying computer scientist. Character versus nature plays a huge role in here, but only after human choices create and unleash the deadly power of nature. Technology does play a role, and just like most other character versus technology storylines, we humans have created our own problems once again. The role of fate is intriguing as we go deeper into chaos theory that our mathematician brings out. The danger of thinking that we can control the uncontrollable. And character versus self comes out just like a Greek tragedy when we realize that it is some very human fatal flaws that get everyone into this mess to begin with. The scene that Ellender, Stephen, and I just recreated is a key one for understanding the human fatal flaws in this story: greed and pride. For me, those are the top two of the classic 7 deadly sins. My high school English teacher always told me that in the Greek tragedies, it is hubris that brings down the hero. While modern understandings of the word hubris is simply excessive pride, the Greek theatrical device of hubris was pride so extreme that the hero sought to be elevated to the level of the gods, and that was the source of their downfall. When Hammond justifies his choices, even after everything has gone wrong and his grandchildren are still missing in a park full of dinosaurs, he stubbornly declares creation is an act of will. There's no doubt underneath his joy and wonder that this man has been captivated by the power that this technology has given him. He's playing God, and he even responds to everything that's going wrong by talking about how he'll make it better next time, even while the crisis is ongoing, even when people are dying and his grandchildren are missing. This refusal to learn from his mistakes is yet another feature of hubris. Dr. Ian Malcom, our mathematician chaos expert, says it clearly: the lack of humility before nature. Our entire scene is the 3 scientists trying to convince the 2 businessmen how they don't actually have control over the situation, only an illusion of control. He famously points out, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think about whether or not they should. And this is a concept that we've become familiar with in our conversations about artificial intelligence, nuclear power, and weapons development of all kinds. We cannot separate out the thrills of scientific creation from the responsibility for understanding how those creations will be exploited and what their consequences will be. Later in the story, when the containment grid shuts down and the alarms are blaring as they find themselves in completely dead cars right in front of the deactivated T-Rex pen, Dr. Malcom sighs to himself, "Boy, I hate being right all the time." Which ironically is another theme in Greek tragedy, the voice that declares the impending doom that nobody will listen to. We may know something about that from the last couple of years. These themes in the movie, which are theatrical devices that go all the way back to the beginnings of classical theater, are ones we can connect with in real life as we've witnessed pride and the unwillingness to listen to warnings in matters connected to infectious disease control and in environmental concerns like climate change. Dr. Malcom warns constantly, the kind of control you are attempting is just not possible. His explanations of chaos theory were pretty cutting edge when the movie came out in 1993, but thanks to this movie and others, it has since worked its way into our collective consciousness. But the point of chaos theory isn't actually that everything is completely random. Instead, it claims that the systems that we are a part of in this world are so complex that even the slightest changes in conditions will make the results unpredictable. It's a model that asserts that it's just impossible to control every aspect of an event outside of a lab, which means it's impossible to predict an outcome with certainty in the real world. Also tied up in this concept is the idea that the more precise and control everything needs to be in order to work out, the more likely it is that something will go wrong. a concept that anyone who has played Dungeons and Dragons is intimately familiar with. I see you in your complicated plans. They're gonna fail. As for greed, what we couldn't show you in the recreation of this scene is that this entire conversation is taking place surrounded by merchandising from the park. Even if Hammond is in love with the showmanship and creating wonder in the people who he envisioned coming to his park, we cannot forget that showmanship has made him a very rich man. And the lawyer, with his gloating and his celebrating and his ruminating on how he's going to enjoy being rich, certainly does underline the point. Greed, the capitalistic impulse to take any good thing and try to figure out how to make a profit off of it, is very much present in the storyline here in 1993. What's really interesting to me is the evolution of this theme when Jurassic World was released in 2015. Part sequel and part reboot, in Jurassic World, they are fully immersed into a dinosaur theme park that reads like a hybrid between Disney World and SeaWorld. They've got the monorails. They've got a waterside stadium that houses a mosasaurus instead of a shamu. And the primary heroine, Claire, begins the story being obsessed with focus groups and making the folks at corporate happy. And in this version, the actual bad guys end up being military types that want to weaponize the velociraptors, because that seems like a great idea. Greed is not a subtle force in the 2015 movie, especially. In both movies, the science is prideful and dangerous, but it is the science in the hands of greed is what gets people killed. And isn't that the case for us in real life as well? So, what are our takeaways from the sacred text of Jurassic Park? As wise as Dr. Ian Malcolm is, I'm really drawn to the Buddhist-like statement made by paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Sattler when she's arguing with John Hammond. You never had control. That's the illusion. We should all be aware of any situation that seduces us into believing that we have more control than we do. Life is too complex and too interconnected for us to get caught up in the notion that we can control much of anything. And that's doubly true when velociraptors are involved. Character versus fate, character versus nature. These themes are in play here. And yet the desire to control the situation anyway is such a human thing to do. As much as I believe in the inherent goodness of humanity, it's important to remember that pride and greed can ruin so much for us. These are insidious diseases of the spirit. Character versus self is usually one of the more interesting conflicts, isn't it? And we see it here. And fortunately, this is the one that we do have power to influence. We can choose humility. We can choose generosity. We can choose to see the interconnectedness of our systems and the inherent worth and dignity of each of us and let those principles influence our choices. I believe we can do this, and that we can especially do this when we are building intentional community around those principles. On the flip side of the lack of control is the idea that we have a powerful influence on the things that happen around us. There's a subtle difference between control and influence, but it makes all the difference. Chaos theory works in both ways. If these systems are so complex that even the smallest things can change them, then that means that our small acts of goodness and kindness can also change a system. And isn't that cool? Yes, results will be unpredictable. It's influence, not control. But I have to think that if we put compassion, equity, justice, and love into a system, that those unpredictable changes will mirror the good things that we put into it. Just as in this story, the unpredictable changes mirrored the hubris and the greed that were put into it. There is no doubt that humanity is capable of wielding great power. We've seen it over and over again, both in our history and in our stories. We've dared to ask the questions of what we're capable of, and it turns out the answer is a whole lot. So now the question becomes, what will we do with our power? Will we serve our greed, or will we look to higher ideals? Will we feed our own egos, or will we feed the world? I know what we all here want the answers to those questions to be, based on our values and our principles that point us to justice, equity, and compassion. So let's make that choice every time chaos offers us a chance to influence our system. And that brings me back to the awe and wonder. There's still mystery in how the vastly complex systems of our world interconnect with each other. But I've seen the power of our choices influence matters for good in 100 tiny ways. How a kind word will welcome someone who needs community into this place. How a gift on the giving tree, or a meal from Hunger First, or a can of food on its way to the food pantry, or a couple of coins in the kids' offering basket can meet a real need. How creating a safe space for a person that embraces who they truly are can bring healing to them, and sometimes even to their entire family system. We cannot control the outcomes of any of these choices. But since we're not unleashing dinosaurs upon the world, control is not what we need. Instead, we can just chaotically infuse love into this world and then look for the wonder that it will bring into our collective lives. May it be so.
The original 1993 Jurassic Park had a lot of fun challenging traditional gender roles. Paleobotanist Ellie Sattler took on the biggest physical challenges of rebooting the computer while evading velociraptors, and a young woman named Lex used her hacker skills to save the day at least twice. There's even a lot of internet memes about the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park being strong female role models, referring to how they were all genetically engineered to be female to keep them from reproducing in the wild. Keeping that in mind, we hope you'll appreciate a very tongue-in-cheek chalice extinguishing, quoting Dr. Ian Malcom and Dr. Ellie Sattler. God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth. Our closing hymn is 313, Oh, What a Piece of Work We Are.
This is also when we collect the offering. We may not be able to collect enough money to build our own dinosaur theme park, but hopefully by now you've realized that would be a bad idea. So instead, your donations will help fund our efforts to build a community of justice, inclusion, and love. So please rise with us in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 313, Oh, What a Piece of Work Are We. your generosity this week and every week. Here's our benediction. May justice lead us to the calling of this moment. May wonder meet us right where we're at. May we discover our collaborators and our companions. And may love guide us on our journey of transformation. Blessed be, amen, and go in peace.